Welcome again to Game 2 for tonight's Tuesday random casting practice for myself. Again, I am solo on this particular cast, and I'm just going to do my plugins there. As you can see on your screen, there is an ad for the Silicon Sports, the international premier event happening at the Pamalama Bar in Melbourne. I will not be attending this because I'm obviously in New Zealand, but these guys, they do a lot of good work. This is going to be very exciting. You get to hang around with a bunch of other people who really enjoy Dota, have some drinks, watch the event live on big screens, and I think you should show your support for anyone who does this kind of thing because it's very, very social. You get to meet many people that you probably played with on a regular basis or on occasion, and I think it's really good just for social networking in terms of Dota. So go along, support these guys either by their website or follow them on Twitter. Another cost here for Southern Cross Dota. Those who were watching my cast for the very first time, I'd like to support these guys. They are a community hub. They help people with running events. They help people in developing their casting skills or finding casters for their actual in-house games or events. So go along, show your support by showing up to the signing up to the forums there. And here we've got a plugin for myself with my YouTube channel, with my Twitch account information. Take a look at both of those, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe, hit follow. The more likes I get, the more subscribes or the more followers I get, the more pulling up power I have to do more premier events, which is what I would like to do, although it is not necessary for me to have fun. Just one person watching this video is all it takes for me to feel happy about having done this in the first place. Into the game now. It is game 2 of what we saw earlier. The teams have been mixed up a little bit. There are some new members into this actual match, but it is game 2 of the night in terms of the casting. We see here the Team K, or the Dire team, having bound out IO or Wisp. Very, very strong pick. Ban, I guess. If it was a structured team game, I'd say this is an excellent ban. But because this is a kind of random pug kind of scenario with Captain's Mode, I don't know how well this is going to go. IO being requiring some technical skill to use, but he is very, very strong. He adds global presence to any other hero that you pick up, and I think this is a very, very good, very good ban here, regardless either way. We see quickly on the Dire team. Quick next ban, quick Batrider ban, and those are two utility heroes that I think you do want to deny your opponents if you're not going to pick them up, and or if you want to risk at least trying to pick one of them up. And we saw in that last game, although the Batrider lost that game, we saw how useful that ability was, and we also saw how strong that Nyx was in terms of countering that Batrider. So good pickups there. Good. It's also a good counter to Kiet Kotl. So great bans. In terms of the Dire's ban, we see that they've banned out a Darkseer. Sorry, what am I saying? They should have banned out a Darkseer, but I see that they've banned out their Shadow Demon. You know, I always regularly say Shadow Demon, Jinkaro, Jack, and Visage are really the top picks for supports at the moment for tri-lane support. We've seen Rubik, he's still kind of in the mix a little bit. He has dropped out of popularity just slightly, and I think that's just because he does suffer a little bit from not having enough utility to steal at level 6. You know, if the team is not the right kind of mix, you can't get enough effectiveness out of I just said Darkseid before. There it is. You don't get enough utility out of the Rubik. Whereas in this mix we've got here, we see a Lifestealer being picked up for the Dire team. We see Darkseid being picked up for the Lifestealer team. Those are both tier 1 heroes. Lifestealer especially, I like that pickup, especially if he's going to be dominating in the tri-lane, because that versatility of that rage, the versatility of that open wounds, the ability to escape through the invest, just so strong. Especially if he's got, you know, if we're talking late game, if he's got a Darkseer to surge him, or if he can get into a surge Darkseer and they can do a bit of a bomb. They're going to be looking to pick up Queen of Pain or Storm Spirit or some other kind of bomb. Hopefully that's what they're going to do, because that is a strong play. And those are the bans that, and you can see, as I started to see that, those are the bans that they should be looking to ban out. Meanwhile, on the Radiant team, picking up one of my favorite heroes, not particularly utilized in a lot of team games, is the Treant Protector, with that global presence with his heal, with that amazing ability that goes through BKB, which is his ult. Great initiator if he's got early Nature's Guides or a Blink Dagger. excellent counter initiation or initiation. And of course, we can't forget the power of Leech Seed. Leech Seed, people don't realize how effective it is when he's surrounded, when a target's surrounded with many friendly targets. And when you've got somebody diving, or when you've got somebody chasing a hero, the amount of DPS that just comes out from level 1 is unbelievable, because there is no targeting max, if I'm correct. Yeah, just the number of pulses. It just pulses 4 times for a total of 30 damage per friendly unit present. So if there's like a double stack you've pulled, and there's a bit of a double stack, and there's some heroes around, and you pulse somebody, there's a humongous amount of damage that's going to come out from that ability. So don't underestimate that sheet. And in case moving on with the draft, rolling it on, we see that they've picked up a Weaver. A Weaver being one of those heroes that people think he's an escape hero. I think he's a diving hero. He could be used to both dive and escape if he can plan his ult well, if he can plan his Jacuzzi well. If he picks up some damage items, his pack of bugs, I forget what they're called, doing so much damage. And I think that is a very strong offlane or tri-lane hero to have. In terms of the bans, now into the second lot of banning, they've already finished, and you can see on your screen OD seeing so much play lately, so much hate in terms of ban. He fell out of popularity for a while, but we see he's back with a vengeance. Everyone knows the power of that of his ult, but also the orb, and also the imprisonment. The imprisonment being so good, and we see another ban of Alchemist, which I think is very strong, given that the Dire team aren't going to pick up any more hard carries. Or not a hard carry, strength carry. Onto the Radiant team. They've banned Queen of Pain, which I was expecting to ban her. They bound it also their Jack, which is very strong. Also another hero that's kind of re-picked up in terms of gone from tier 2 back to tier 1, because he is now popular again. Into the second phase of picking, I quite like this pickup of Tinker. We don't see many Tinkers, especially mid Tinkers, being played lately. The meta of having one level of laser, maxing at your rockets, or maxing at your March and rockets kind of at the same time, I think is very good for a mid position playing Tinker. And they pick up a Rubik, which I find an odd pickup for the second position. Rubik is for the 4th slot. Rubik is, like I said earlier on in the cast, Rubik is slightly fallen into popularity because he does suffer a little bit from the meta in terms of you have to be a very strong Rubik player who's playing this Rubik. It can't be a novice. It can't be an average person. It has to be a very strong Rubik player, because the utility of what he steals is very important. Having the presence of mind to be able to take an ability that's actually going to be useful. And so often you see these Rubiks, they take an ability, they've taken a random ability and realize it's not that good. Why did I pick this guy? Or I didn't time period, or they just see a hero and they randomly use it, hoping to steal whatever, trying to get lucky. And I don't think that's a power of Rubik. Rubik is somebody who looks at the situation and who quickly ascertains with their game acumen, realizing that this is the scenario, I should be targeting that hero because no matter what I get, it's going to be useful in this team fight. On the Radiant team, picking up Razor yet again, another Razor pickup. We're going to see Razor's offlane again. We'll see. I'm not convinced that this is where Razor needs to be sitting, but it could be another Razor offlane or mid. When we see a strong pickup of Silencer, that's going to be very effective. Silencers, of course, in terms of combos, doesn't synergize so well on the Radiant team, but that silence is just going to make things combo because the Dire team is not going to have any choice but to retreat as soon as silence is used. And if they've chosen to engage and there's the counter initiation through the form of the silence global ult, then they're going to have a problem because they really need to finish off with right clicks in order to weather out that storm that is silence's ult. In terms of the final bans now, into the final picks and bans, Puck being knocked out, I think that is because they're planning to put Tinker mid and they don't want any competition in terms of dominance for those runes. So they're getting rid of somebody who's very flexible, someone who's very well known for being able to maneuver around in that mid position. So they've bound at that Puck. And a very odd ban here for the Radiant team, quickly, without hesitation, choosing to ban Chen. And I don't know if that was the right choice. Potentially, this is friend meta. They may know someone on another team that's looking to play Chen or plays Chen regularly, but I don't know if that is the wisest of all decisions in terms of pickups. We do see a Boo being used when that Chen ban came out, so it could potentially be the case that this is a friend cock block, but I don't think it was particularly a wise pickup that KK would be looking. They'll be looking to put a very hard carry into the slot to complement the team they've already got, so Chen not likely to be picked up. In terms of what the Radiant's looking to be picking up. They've got this very carry heavy team. They'll be looking to pick up a very strong support, potentially Bane or who's still left in the pool. You know, my mind escapes me just at present as terms of who's still left in the pool. But I would be picking up a Bane here to counteract this Lifestealer, and that's all nice to pick up with the Visage. They don't pick up a carry, but they pick up a pseudo carry in the form of Visage. They also have the pseudo carry in the form of the Tinker, so they could have a lot enough damage and late game carry to take this out. It's all going to hinder on the Sand King. Really? Why didn't you take Bane? Guys, if you're watching this, Bane would have been the perfect pickup here. You needed a really solid support with lots of lockdown. Although this is not a bad pickup, Bane would have been much, much stronger. Into the game now. Let's have a quick look up, and as you can see already on your screen there is a smoke on the Rubik. This is this is very, very strong pickup. I like seeing early game Sentry Walls. I like seeing early game smoke, and we've got both on these heroes, and that tells me that Willow Maker kind of knows a little bit about game meta. He's going to have those D wards to be able to block the camps, Sentry Walls to be able to block the camps or D ward, but that's smoke. That's a very important smoke, especially if there's an early engagement or if there's an early rotation into the mid to gank, whereas you can see on the Radiant team, no smoke, no sentry wards, so if they get dewarded, it's another 6 minutes before they're going to have any vision, and I think that's very, very crucial, you know, in terms of if they're both warded the same spots, and one set got dewarded, that's such an advantage. 6 minutes of vision over the rune, that's 2 runes, and 3 runes, and that's going to be a lot of extra advantage. Both teams choosing to offensively block out each other's camps and lanes. Nice placing of this ward. I think this is a strategic place of the ward. I do this quite often. It gives you, if I quickly hit this vision button here, is this the right vision button? This is the right vision button. That's the right vision button. Let's have a look. There we go. It gives you this vision right up to the tower and beyond into the jungle slightly. So if you could see when they're retreating a little bit, it's very, very good for cottle placement actually, because you can wave when you know you need a wave. But also it's a good placement because you can see when this Lifestealer is going to go and pull a camp, or when he's going to start farming, and it gives you that nous to be able to go in and engage. At the same time, we see the bottom camps being banked out. Willowmaker going to probably place a really nice ward in here. He did like he did last time. A nice little trick that I learned from Willowmaker is right in those trees there. He placed a sentry wards, and he's looking to do that again. That was very, very well done. Yeah, there it is. There. That was very, very well done, because it's not an easy spot there for the die if they choose to Radiant, if they choose to deward it. But even we know, but they don't know that the Radiant has no sentry wards at present. And in the lanes, we have an offensive tri-lane, which consists of a very, very staple Visage, Rubik, and Lifestealer. This is going to have a very good time here against the Weaver. Weaver obviously still going to be able to get some CS and have the great escape abilities, but he's not going to be able to escape forever. And they maybe even be able to pick up First Blood if this. Oh wait, just as I say that, we see this turn into a dual lane with the TP down of a Razor. Maybe not as easy as I thought it would be for these guns, but they are going to suffer a little bit. And you can see here, look at this guy, he's taking so much damage, and there's First Blood just like that, just as I called it before. First Blood with these guys because of the Rubik pickup, because of the Visage soul consumption, and because of this guy didn't even need open wounds. He's got Feast, of God's sakes. This is a terrible pickup for the first pick, but he didn't need it. We see a response here though from the Radiant. Looks like they've chosen to go into an defensive tri-lane, abandon the top offensive tri-lane against a Darkseer, because they realise they can't actually do anything about it, and they actually want their Weaver to come in here and contest this a little bit. This is going to probably work out in the favour. Well, I play Darkseer a lot, and I know how to deal with a Weaver. This guy may not be able to know how to deal with a Weaver, so he may suffer slightly. If he doesn't, he is going to suffer, or slightly, he's going to suffer a lot, because he is going to get out harassed. Meanwhile, this defensive tri lane, this is a very, very smart move from the Radiant team. They've realised they lost First Blood because it was just totally outmatched in the bottom. They don't want to give up any more free kills, and they feel that they'll have the advantage of being able to pull and stack with a tree, with a great initiation or counter initiation here with the Burrow Strike. But I don't know if this is going to work out. This doesn't have synergy here because I don't like the tree if sitting in this particular tri lane. He does have a good pick up a leech sheet, so they'll be able to slow someone down, but it's going to really rely on this really good placement of Burrow Strike in order to pull this through. You see pings going down now on to a number of heroes. We see Boroshock going down onto the wrong hero. We see Leechy going onto a third hero, and this is no coordination whatsoever here from the Radiant team. Had they focused all those abilities onto one hero, they would have easily picked up a kill, but unfortunately they have not, and we have a DC. Somebody died as well. Who died? Your favourite caster, not realising that in the mid position here, Tinker got taken out by the Silencer. Great play here. Silencer, I think, is a very strong mid against the most Intel heroes, which is what Tinker is, because he's just going to the last word and glaives him to death, and there's not much he can really do about it. And that's going to be very painful for Tinker for a while. Meanwhile, in the side lane here, Weaver against Darkseer is. Let's have a look at CS. That will tell us anything. Darkseer, obviously, he picked up a lot of CS kick because he was there from the beginning, throwing down those iron shells. Weaver just coming into play now. He is sitting at 6 CS. He can catch up very easily, and he's got those bug pack things, so he will be able to right click down enough creatures to get that CS. Net worth E. Why? There we go. Net worth wise though, however, forget these buttons. Net worth wise, we can see that Darkseer, the Dire team, doing reasonably well. In fact, doing very well given their current setup. They've got this great early lead. This is probably this net worth here is because of the first blood pickup, and that can so many games like Castle where it's really close, and it's come down to that first blood snowball effect. You get that first blood, you get those early boots, and that's what this game's about. For me, there's a 10, 11, 12-minute mark where I look at the boots, and that tells me everything. Graphs, they can be a little bit misleading in terms of XP and gold because it doesn't tell you the spread, where it's at. When you push this button here and you can see boots and you can see who's got completed boots and who doesn't have completed boots, it tells you a much clearer picture in terms of items, because once you complete that boots, what do you go for next? Your next core item. And so if you've got boots very early, or if you've got boots and your opponents don't have boots, it just tells me that you're on a minor snowball effect here, and as soon as you pick up those early core items over your opponents who have still haven't completed the boots, it's a difficult time. It's not impossible to come back from that, and of course there's many casts that have done where people have come back from that, but it just means it's an uphill battle where you need to coordinate exceptionally well. This seems to be a long pause here, so I'm going to take the opportunity yet again to plug in for myself, because this is one of my random practice casts where I am flying solo. I don't have my Avril, I don't have my Anonymous, and I don't have my Manrose. It's just me doing my thing, building up some casting skills. You can see there is a YouTube channel. Go along, have a look. Currently on there'll be all the games from last weekend's Kiwi Challenge Series 2, Pool A and Pool B. Don't want to give away who won each of those pools, but that is 12 games over the weekend. All of those were cast by me and Avril and a number of other co-casters that I had on here. Very exciting plays, particularly in Pool B. Pool A dominated by two teams, and it was rather one-sided in a lot of the games, but Pool B being very exciting on that Sunday, 6 games back-to-back, very long day, but that was very rewarding. On my Twitch account, they are also there. If you're on either of the accounts, maybe you're seeing this on YouTube or you're seeing this on Twitch, go to the respective counter alternative, go to YouTube, or go to Twitch. If you're on YouTube, go to Twitch, and if you've got an account, hit follow, hit subscribe, because the more support I get, the greater pulling power I have to do more serious events, especially tournaments. Tournaments are way more fun, especially in the later pool plays, because you've developed this back history as to how the team has already performed, and you can kind of see where they're going. Also, so a lot of these teams that tend to top out or do very well in the tournaments, I add them to my Steam account, and I do pub casts of them, casts of them pubbing, and those are generally some of the most exciting matches that I cast, because I kind of already know how it's going to go. I know that this team is a tier 1 team, and they're going to totally steamroll whoever they go against, and I can kind of predict how this is going to go, and so I can sort of cast respectively, and I get really good casts out of that. Quick plug-in for Southern Cross Dota. Southern Cross Dota being a community hub. If you're not familiar with Southern Cross Dota, go along to their website, sign up to their forums, look at their VODs. They're not in competition to any other guild or clan or anything, because all they're doing is trying to promote events via their website anyone's events. They can provide you with some infrastructure and some support and some casting in the form of Vix, in the form of a Mega Car, in the form of Avril, in the form of Gavadea 101, in the form of who else? There's a whole bunch of casters I've got on my list here. In fact, I've got a list of 16 casters, all of them from that site, so they can help you with your casting. All of them very, very excited to do mainstream events and also build their sort of repertoire in terms of abilities that they could do, or casting experiences. I'm not going to cast. I'm not going to add with that one. Did that one already a couple of times. We're going to do an ad here for Buckcraft New Zealand. If you are into esports, whether that be Dota 2, League of Legends, or the infamous StarCraft 2, go along to the Barcraft www.barcraft.net site for New Zealand, specifically really in Auckland and Wellington. They do a lot of live events in pubs, in bars, and those are very, very fun. Um, there's a similar group doing something in Australia, which I'm about to plug in next. Yeah, but very, very fun, and I think they need your support, especially if you're watching this and you play Dota 2 and you're in New Zealand, you think, hey, that sounds like fun. I feel like I should go along to a bar event where I get to meet other Dota 2 players, have a beer, watch some Premium League Dota, either in the form of international or some other tournament, and you like that idea, go along and support these guys. Make yourself known. There's an email address on the main page with next to Dota 2. I think it's will at company gamers.com or something like that. Send him an email saying, hey, look, have you got something coming up? Because he will add you to his mailing list, and he will let you know when they're going to be having some Dota 2 pub crawls, basically. And those nights, I tell you what, that you end up blind pretty at the end of those nights sometimes. Quickly, as the last plug-in here is actually for an event that I'm not going to, but I want to support these guys because I am going to meet some of them next week. It is Silicon Sports, the international premier event. It is at the Pumalama Bar in Melbourne. It's called Pump Stomp. They do regular events at this bar. It's basically this reruns of what I just said about Barcraft. Exactly the same thing. It's all about Dota 2. You can follow them there on siliconsports.net or /siliconsports on Twitter. Lend them your support and say that I sent you. Say that I sent you if you can, in any sense of the word, because they will be surprised that anyone that watches my cast will go along or will support them. But I think this is exactly the same thing as Barcraft. It's this high level support, high level social interaction with each other, which you kind of lack because of the internet. And it's easy to call someone a noob and berate them for their terrible plays and whatnot, but meeting people face to face, you get to develop a better sense, and you grow the community, not just restricted to that is on the screen or from your especially from your Melbourne. You can actually get to meet players and from there maybe build some better teams. Build some better relationships, network a little bit about who's and what team and how you're going, and be social. And that's what I really like about those two particular events that I have plugged in. Back to the game. The game is still currently in pause. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me ask and take a break for a second. Uh, again, infamous Australian internet. There is an internet blackout in some part of wherever it is that this particular player is at. My observations as a New Zealand player, the Australians, while they seem to be a much more progressed country than New Zealand, they seem to be sort of 5 years behind in terms of how their internet works for the provincial areas. If you're not in Melbourne, not in Sydney, or not in Perth, or Brisbane, or possibly Adelaide, you don't seem to have very good net if you're out of those major centres, and that's just an observation there. Anyway, let's have a look at these builds. You can see choosing the place field and that static link. That is a pretty standard build there for the for most Razors. He hasn't gone that aura yet because he's not facing up against anyone who's going to be spamming like Razorback or something. So that's a very good build here. In terms of the tree, he's gone for that living armor. That's a good choice. Leech I think is also a good choice. You can't underestimate that Leech, but I do think Nature's guys might have worked slightly better in an early level, so you can just stay in and get that XP. We see a Burrow Strike and a Sandstorm. Those players who use their Sandstorm like a Puck uses his phase shift, that's amazing plays. And I don't know if this particular player Ibram can do that, but if he can, then we will see some great plays from here. In terms of Rubik, telekinesis and Fade Bolt, that's pretty standard. Sometimes, occasionally, you see a Null Shield coming out early. That's generally only when you're facing high magic damage, and that could be the case in the going up against the Razor. Razor's damage being mostly coming out of his plays midfield and right clicks. And I think, you can't sort of just scoff and discard the fact that you won't pick up null shield early, because that could really, really help your teammates in this bottom lane. We see here Rage and Feast on the Lifestealer, and still no open wounds. I would have expected open wounds to be one of the first pickups. And we see the first and second ability being picked up on Visage. I'm not too heavily familiar with how you should play Visage, so I think this is okay from the way I'm looking at it, but I probably would have liked to have seen... no, that is perfect. I think there's no other way to say that. In terms of the silencer, we said earlier he's picked up last word and 2 levels of Wisdom Glaives. Those being very, very strong for a mid play against the Tinker. I can't fault that whatsoever. Curse of the Silent? No. I think these two are definitely the best way. He's not playing support, he's playing carry, so those are the best way to go. We've got Nuba here playing on the Weaver. Zakusi, 2 levels of Zakusi, 1 level Bug Bag, that's pretty standard. I don't think anyone ever picks up Swarm melee, so that's pretty decent. And we see here 2 levels of Surge and 2 levels of Iron Shower. I think this could be one of those builds where he doesn't get boots early, and this is going to be okay. If he does get boots early, I probably would have liked to have seen that in vacuum and to sort of max out that vacuum as early as possible. In favour even of the replica wall, because those who may not be familiar, replica wall scales through the game, and so it doesn't really have much an effect at level 6 or 7 or 8. It's really the levels after 9 where it starts to be effective. So we'll watch that closely to see how he levels. Tinker going March in the Machine, 1 level laser beam. That's good. I see sometimes play at the moment maxing out laser beam. I don't know if I like that, but because it's got pure damage. But I do like the early levels of rockets if we can actually get this going. Lots of levels of early rockets, and the game looks like it's going to be a fail. I'll have to apologize to anyone that's watching the stream. This is a lobby game, if you're not familiar. This is a lobby game. It is an Australian-New Zealand game. It is the only other game I'm going to be casting tonight. I won't be doing a third game because this is getting very, very late in New Zealand. And unfortunately, we have lost the player. They aren't returning, and so they're just choosing to abandon this game. That's unfortunate. I do think it would have worked out slightly in the favour of the Radiant or the Dire through to the mid phase. And if they'd secured enough kills on this Razor, it may have been a game for them. At the same time, I do think the Razor had very, very strong mid game, and if he didn't get it, if he wasn't killed enough, and he did get enough last hits and last enough farm, he would have easily gone down to control. At this stage in the game, it was hard to tell because they were toe to toe. And I just want to thank anyone here who's currently watching this cast for your support on my forums. I will on my games, I should say, on my casts. I am going to quickly end the game now, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on Monday. There will be no further casts from me for the rest of the week. I will be away in Oz, and also I won't be casting Pool B or C of the Kiwi Challenge Series 2 because I couldn't find anyone to fill my slots, basically. So hopefully you'll have to watch that through D2NZ. Those who are familiar with D2NZ in game and sort of suffer a little bit with his casting. But that's okay. He needs the experience, he needs that skill, so that's okay. And again, thanks to you for watching.